Alright, so Chevy has dropped the Equinox EV and some more details around it. It's gonna start around $30,000, and in this video we're gonna talk about this design, let you know what I think of it from a front, side, rear, and also talk about the interior. So first let's talk a little bit about the spec and tech here, because it's a pretty important car for Chevy. They say this is gonna be their base EV for the masses, so they say the range is gonna be around 250 to 300 miles. And for $30,000, I hope they can stick to that base price. I'm not sure if it's gonna be able to do that, but it comes with 250 to 300 miles of range and some autonomous driving assistance. And you can choose between two different battery packs and front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And the front-wheel drive base model will have 210 horsepower and 242 pound-feet of torque. Not going to be the quickest EV, and the all-wheel drive version comes with 290 horsepower and 346 pound-feet of torque. On the inside you find an 11-inch digital gauge cluster in combination with a small TV. It's actually 17.7 inches for the center touchscreen. I mean, these screens are just getting bigger and bigger, and this is not even a big car, but I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want a massive screen inside the car, like shining light when I'm driving. It comes with a maximum of 150 kilowatt DC fast charging, which is pretty low, and I guess that's one way they can keep this at a reasonable price, $30,000. It will go on sale in the fall of 2023. So let's have a look at this design. This is one of these cars that really benefits from I think the RS package, but this is not the RS package. It still has the nice wheels. There is one trim level that has the smaller wheels. To me, totally ruins the design. You need to have the bigger wheels on this Equinox. It's a great looking design. I think it's a really cool design. I'm super happy that Chevy didn't decide to go with the bean shape, just make it a blob of a car like we see a lot of EV manufacturers doing right now. This actually has a lot of identity to it, and it looks sporty, it looks aggressive in the front end. Not really super aggressive, but it looks confident. I think confident is the right word I'm looking for here. This non-RS trim, as you can see, this front piece is body colored, and I think in this case, rare case, but I think with the Equinox here, I think it actually looks better with the front end in body color than having kind of a fake grille and making this part black like we have in the RS trim. I also like the details that they put in here. You can see this diamond cut pattern that kind of fades from the top and then becomes more pronounced as we go down to the bottom of this design. I think it's a beautiful car. I think it's well done by Chevy coming up with this and not making it look like an EV. We're going to have a look at that more in the side view in just a second. But we also need to address this trend which continues in the Equinox. We have the one light bar like we have in the Silverado EV, for example, very similar layout as the Silverado EV. And then we have the headlights being this tiny piece down here in the grille, almost hiding in here, doesn't want to show its face. We want to have a strong identity, and that means we can make whatever we want on the top. It's not going to be a very functional light, it's just going to bring some identity to the front end with this light bar. We have a nice line flow. Look at this line right here, going into the front fender and then dipping down all the way to this point into this line, then continues in the bottom, and of course doing the same thing on the other side. I also like this center line that we have right here, cutting into the body and creating a nice focal point for the symmetrical view of this front end. As I said, this body colored front end, probably the one I would pick here. I don't know if you can pick it with the all-wheel drive model, probably. I'm guessing so. Looking at the side view, what I like about the side view, it looks a lot more stylized, and it has a lot more identity than, for example, a Tesla Model Y. The Model Y is still a pretty beautiful car. It has some nice line flow in it, but here, this doesn't really look like an EV. They did stretch out the wheelbase. The wheelbase here is longer than the internal combustion engine Equinox, but you can't really see that. You can't tell it from looking at a side view. Yes, the A-pillar stretches a little further, as you can see, which you can do when you have an EV because there's no engine up here. And by the way, this Equinox doesn't have a frunk. What Chevy said is they made some research, and they said it's going to be, first of all, too expensive if you want to keep the price at around $30,000 base price for this, And they also said that people don't really use a frunk on their EVs. And I can attest to that. I don't think I've ever used the frunk in my Tesla Model 3. The thing is, do people really go on long road trips in EVs? I think that has a lot to do with it too. So you don't really need a lot of luggage space because you never really take an EV on a very long road trip. And that makes the frunk almost obsolete. You have enough space in the rear for whatever you need for your trips. Continuing here at the side view, I think it's a good looking car. We have a nice thick C-pillar right here, and we also have a two-tone roof, which I think looks good with the white and blue. Looking at the rear, same thing here, beautiful design. I like this light bar. This is a new implementation of graphics in the light bar. I think it looks cool, and this kind of fades up sequentially as you turn this on. And you also have this light bar being cut up, so you have the big pieces in the outer parts, and then it kind of gets smaller and smaller pieces. And I think it looks good. It adds some dynamics to this, almost like a 3D effect, like that it goes further and further in the car, and then boom, it just ends up in the center with the Chevy logo there. Overall, a nice design all around by Chevy. But now let's have a look at the interior and this 17.7-inch TV that you have right here as an infotainment screen. I don't know, what do you think about this? Do you like these big screens? I guess I would like it more if it was always in a darker tone. I don't like, for example, in Teslas when you have the white background. I think it turns on a little late. There you have automatically turn off, switch between light background, and then you have the dark mode. But dark mode comes on after the sun has set, and it feels like just a distraction when you're driving. I'm not sure if this is gonna have the dark mode on all the time, and it could probably be a little brighter when it's daytime out. But the layout of these screens, I kind of like it. It looks pretty integrated in this design, kind of like a weird shaped iPad stuck onto this, but at least it's not just one single rectangle like this, like we have in a lot of other EVs. Here you can see the lights for the autonomous driving. I guess this is green when it's turned on. I like the steering wheel as well. Looks pretty traditional to me. I do wish we did have more tactile features in here, but we do have it for the climate control. I think that's all that matters. And then you have this up here. This also looks like a climate control dial. So I'm not sure if this is the climate or maybe this is another climate dial. I'm not really sure, but you have some physical buttons and air vents right here, which is a good thing to have. The more we add stuff like this that has been designed and you can feel, I think the better for EVs, because they're automatically so sterile in their appearance and in their feel that you want to make the interior look more like more homey and more cozy, and you do that by adding more tactile features and beautiful stuff inside. That's just my opinion. And then we have two cup holders here, as you can see, and I really like this red leather. It's probably not leather, it's probably some fake leather or something like that, but it's a cool design. I'm excited to see this. We're probably gonna see a bunch of these out on the roads in about 2 or 3 years. Well done, Chevy. But if you're gonna buy this, make sure you go with the larger wheels.